Vestavia Hills City Schools is celebrating 50 years of learning without limits.
People say hey, why don't you move to Vestavia? It's for the school system.
It's a national brand.
A great source of civic pride.
What made Vestavia or Vestavia schools? And I tell people all the time, consistency.
With an annual budget of over $90 million and 800 plus employees, the school system serves 7,100 students across 5 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, a freshman campus, and a high school. It began in 1968 with residents organizing to form their own school system.
The success of Vestavia, the people of Vestavia, they wanted a better school system. They wanted to have more control of their school system, and they also were going to support their school system.
But we had to have the money to start the school. And so the biggest issue was the tax base. And so we had to have a vote of whether the community would accept this additional tax to support a school system for the city of Vestavia Hills.
The vote passed, and on April 30th, 1970, the Vestavia Hills Board of Education was formed.
One of the first ingredients you have to have in grades K through 12 is a strong faculty.
The teachers formed a very close bond with each other and with our students because we were working so hard. It wasn't 8 to 3. It was 8 to maybe 10 at night sometimes.
It was wonderful. You know, everything was a first. We were the first group of Rebelettes.
My class, we chose our nickname, we chose, the colors.
Our band was really good, and the students would start yelling, "That's our band, that's our band." And you just felt, everybody was supporting you.
The pillars of Vestavia Hills City Schools.
To may have a great school system, you got to have 3 things. You got to have great students, great personnel, and great parents. If you got those 3 things, then you're going to have a great school system.
We are proud of the accomplishments of 50 years of fantastic achievements in academics. The crux of a school system is to prepare students for life. And that transcends more than academics. It transcends more than arts, athletics. It's about character.
The parents and the community expect their students to learn how to be a good citizen and how to give back and how to serve others and how to make their community a better place.
What we know about students today is when they graduate high school and then graduate college, they will not stay in jobs in the length of time that we stayed in jobs growing up. They're going to constantly be moving. So what education in the future is more about their skills and their ability to adapt, to communicate with others, to work together with others.
When I was growing up, I feel a lot of education was around, here's this knowledge that you must learn. The Battle of Hastings was in 1066. Now you can ask Siri when the Battle of Hastings, was. The question now is, how do you have context around that? How do you have critical thought around this piece of information? And how do you decide what's a good source or not?
Supporting faculty and staff in putting students first.
When I first started, it was my first year, and that was intimidating back then to be a first-year teacher in the Vestavia system. But the support was phenomenal. When Oseline Carty really had my first years, I can remember her coming in at least every other day. She would walk through the classrooms, pat you on the back, and say a positive, "You're doing a great job. I love your room today. Look at the smiles on those children." That's all you need as a teacher.
Here, when I was matched with my mentor here, Mrs. Hurt, and She did very well in guiding me when I needed answers to questions. A lot of those questions she knew thorough answers to because, of course, she was teaching 5th grade too. So they matched you with someone who really understood what you were going through.
The kids coming happy from school, wanting to go back every day. I mean, you had that feeling in the first day, like parents crying and kids, what is gonna happen? But from day one is something that you can tell how much they love it and they like it.
I have a 5th grader at East, a 7th grader at Pizzitz, and a sophomore at the high school. And just the fact that my kids love going to school, there's never been a day that they didn't. They feel very involved. They feel accepted.
From day one, when I meet my students, my focus is always inspiration. I want to inspire you to have that autonomy to go out and do something productive with that time, with that energy.
That's what I want from my teachers and for me it was great, and I want to see that with my kids as well, is that teachers who recognize their talents and their skill set and then encourage them to do that.
The arts programs that I experienced from elementary school all the way through high school absolutely shaped where I am now. Music in high school for me was really about how do I treat other people? How can I be a leader? How can I be kind? By the time I left high school, I really felt quite secure in who I was, enough so to do things that I wouldn't have done when I first came into high school. I went into my undergrad as a music education major because I wanted to influence people in the same way that my teachers influenced me.
Over the course of time that we'll spend at Vestavia, there's gonna be a small percentage of people that will actually be professional musicians, but our goal is that 100% of them will be professional people.
We are a community of folks who are pursuing excellence in our professional lives, and we want to see that in our schools, because I think for the most part we understand that school, that education is the foundation for success.
What I love about Vestavia is the fact that we're and both, right? Is that we want to excel in the classroom and we want to be competitive on the field of play. For every Coach Anderson, there's a Kay Tipton. So Coach Anderson being great on the football field and Kay Tipton dominating math team nationally. For every Sammy Dunn, there's a Marilee Dukes that was winning debate championships while Coach Dunn is winning baseball championships. And the fact that we excel in both of those is, to me, one of our distinctives.
Over the course of 50 years, Vestavia Hills has earned 132 team and individual state championships in 14 different sports.
In the 1990s, we were having tremendous success athletically. I remember one year we had 5 state championships.
When you look at the people that were a part of that athletic department, their sole motivation was to help the kids. They were truly focused on their student athletes and what was best for them. And winning was a byproduct of everything that they taught.
Coach Dunn taught me years ago, you don't win games. You win the kids, and the kids win the games.
I played for Sammy Dunn, and his love was always tough love, but you knew he loved you.
One thing I can say is I've never been around someone that could get people to perform at their best day in and day out as well as he could. Winning the 9 state championships in 10 years, winning a national title, and just the ultimate success that was around his programs is something that was just so impressive.
Kids are still kids, though. They're still looking for something to belong to. They're looking for something to be a part of. They're looking for love. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking to be part of something bigger than themselves. First of all, I hadn't never dreamed that I would still be here when I first started here. And Coach Reynolds hired me in January of 1972. I thought I might be here 3, 4, 5 years and be somewhere else, and just never dreamed it. But, you know, God had other plans. People say, man, you must have loved those teams that were state champions. Yes, I did, but, you know, we had some teams that went 2-8, and I love those kids just as much. And be one miserable person feels all just about whether they succeeded athletically or not, because, and here again, every kid doesn't have the same talent, and you have to have a lot of kids that are real talented to be, to win a lot of games, but we want to see you be great husbands and great wives. We want to see you be great sons and daughters. I tell them all the time, being a great parent, that's a great accomplishment because they're dealing with the future, just as every year we're dealing with the future when we're dealing with kids.
Students at Vestavia Hills High School have donated more than $2.2 million to support cancer research in just the past decade. Students at all 8 schools have come together to donate millions more for charitable causes both locally and globally.
Years ago, it was a lot about what we could do for the students, and the students finally turned that around and said, let's look and see what we can do for others.
At the high school this year, for example, we have about 2,000 students, and 90% of those students are in clubs. Most of those clubs are 100% service focused, but all of them give back in some way and participate in service activities.
So in 2010, we applied for a Blue Ribbon Award. So the lady at the Blue Ribbon Committee called me one afternoon, and she goes, I believe that you have put a section in the wrong section on your Blue Ribbon report. I said, what? She goes, this section on charitable giving. I said, no ma'am. I said, I think I put that in there under curriculum. She goes, yes, but it shouldn't be under curriculum. Curriculum is really what you're just teaching the students. I said, no ma'am. Teaching our students to be charitable givers is part of our curriculum. Our fall charities, our giving to RISE or the Cancer Society, that's part of our culture. And that is part of the curriculum. We expect that every one of our kids to have that kind of ingrained in them, that we're supposed to help our brother.
A proud moment when you see that these kids are going, and you hope that we're teaching them something that's going to pay off later in life, that they're not going to look at what am I going to get out of this, but how can I help my fellow man? How can I be a better citizen? That's the whole thing that evolves from this play one role, you play us all.
A constant of the school system since its founding is unparalleled community support. The Vestavia Hills City Schools Foundation has donated more than $1.3 million since its inception in 1996, and the Vestavia Hills City Schools PTO has donated more than $1.9 million to the schools in the past 5 years alone.
That's one of the things that sets us apart, is our citizenry's desire to give back. People willing to give their time and their experience for this entity is unheard of in many communities.
When you start getting to help and volunteer and see the difference that it makes, to make things successful, or for the kids to have a great experience, for things to really work, it's priceless.
That pillar of excellence is there, that our students want to excel and be great at everything they do, but that's backed by this incredible support, whether it's support from each other, student to student, support from their teachers, teacher to student, or community, parent to student. We are all here in Vestavia Hills community to support these kids, to support them in their endeavors.
Since its start in 1970, the school system has experienced continuous growth. What started in a community of 8,300 residents and 2,500 students in just 2 schools has grown to more than 35,000 residents and more than 7,000 students across 9 campuses.
People realize when they get away from here and get away in other places, the specialness of this place. It's just tremendous.
All of our kids live here, and which to me is one of the main things about a community, when your children want to come back and live where they grew up.
We had a serious problem that's been at Vestavia since I have started going here, which we just didn't have enough space.
So what we have is a demand that outpaces our infrastructure. And for many years, our Board of Education, our prior superintendents dating back to Dr. Blair, did a really good job of saving money.
That was the important thing financially, was to provide what the kids need and more, plus at the same time, provide for future needs of future children and their education.
We had the opportunity to pick up a school over in Columbiana that's 30 acres, already had a school on it. So we were able to acquire that, and that created opportunity for us. And then Jefferson County had approached us about the Gresham Dolly Ridge campus. And so here's an opportunity to buy another school in our city footprint. So we were able to acquire that. And then that gave us a lot of opportunity to say, okay, how do we think about this differently? Now that we have capacity, what makes the most sense?
So we've realigned, we've restructured, and we've made ourselves more efficient and able to deliver a better quality service and product to our citizens over the next 10 or 20 years.
Education today looks very different than it did 50 years ago. Today is becoming more and more about providing individual, more prescribed opportunities for every child. If you think about 7,000 prescriptions for students, that's where our education system is moving.
I think we're on the right track. We're expanding, but yet we're keeping that continuity. We're keeping the community.
I can say is, my kids are gonna be out of here. I continue to offer my help as long as I can. I just hope that the system continue to do that for 50 more years.
We're really genuinely thankful for all the teachers and all the mentors and all the people who went above and beyond and cared for me as I grew up in this community.
And this is a community who has learned to grow. In other words, we didn't just create a model in 1970 and this is what we're going to do. This community has continually challenged itself to get better each year.
We don't have to look too far, 'cause home is always in our hearts. Oh no, we don't have to look too far. Home is always close, it's always in our hearts. No matter where we go, no matter where we are, we don't have to look too far.